My name is Laurie Papajohn, and I co-founded Winter Harp with Alan Woodland in the early 1990s. We met in a rather odd way. I was a reporter, and my editor told me to write a feature on the chief librarian of New Westminster. Oh, I groaned. Couldn't I interview a NASA test pilot or a nuclear submarine captain, or what about the head of a drug cartel? Not a librarian? Ah, how dull. But when Alan and I met, we immediately clicked. He was a poet, I was a harpist and singer, and right then and there, we decided to perform together that Christmas at the library, just the two of us. Each year we added more concerts, and then one day we decided to go big, as the saying goes. We formed an ensemble, we booked theaters, we chose the name Winter Harp, and the rest, as they say, is history. We have loved creating this show, the stories and music that bring both tears and laughter, and we've loved the joy of performing. Now we invite you to sit back, meet the Winter Harp artists, and enjoy a song or two during this wonderful Christmas and solstice season. When creating the shows, Alan Woodland and I wanted stories that were rich with Christmas and winter. But it was hard to find such stories and poems. The internet was barely functioning in those days, so it was not a research option. So Alan went to the source, the British Library in London, England. Now in those days, not just anyone could get into those hallowed halls, but Alan managed to gain access. He wanted to learn everything he could about the origins and ancient traditions of both Christmas and solstice, so that he could write about these subjects with depth, or he could use the inspiration for a whimsical tale about a shepherd alone with his harp on the hill.
When the light cracked the clouds and the wings in the wind and the dancing words were around their heads, the shepherds threw themselves upon the ground. But the angel voices calmed their fears, told of a child to be born in a barn and the glory that would be. And when the silver messengers left, the shepherds talked excitedly about who would go and who would stay, and who would play the harp to calm the sheep. And they pointed at him, the youngest one, and they laughed as they went their way. When they had gone, and the night reached round, he felt so lonely, sad and small, he touched a sound out of the harp, but it made the night seem darker still. So he put the harp down on a rock and walked to the edge of the fire's light, keeping watch for his sheep and wolves. It was then the harp began to sing of the child in the barn and the newborn king, and a star danced in the quivering strings, revealing all that had been foretold. 5 points of light shone in the night, and he saw himself in the star-lit barn. He saw the birth, the swaddling, the ass and the ox stir neck and flank as the child was laid in the trough. And while he was there with the mother and child, he saw his mates outside the door. And as he looked, they were swept aside as 3 tall gypsy kings strode in and laid 3 jeweled caskets on the floor. He saw the caskets opened wide, the gold and the frankincense inside. He leaned to see what was in the third, but the light that had danced in the harp went out, and the harp strings ceased their quivering. And the barn and the child and the gypsy kings were gone with the star and the wind of wings. Gone from the harp, now silent and still, gone from the shepherd, alone on the hill, alone in the darkness, marveling.
Hi, I'm Krista Gabard, and I sing for Winter Harp. Growing up, we always had music around the house. My dad was a singer, and my mom played the viola and the violin. Pretty much every day we would listen to CBC music in the morning, and then on Saturdays it was the opera. When I was very little, my dad would take me to his choir practice and leave me wrapped in a blanket in the pews. And once I was old enough, I would climb around under the chairs and tie his shoelaces together. So that was my contribution to the Vancouver Unitarian Choir. After that, I continued to actually sing in choirs, and eventually I sought out voice lessons. My teacher was Lois Wenninger, and she taught me almost everything I know. I sang everything with her, from Italian art songs to German lieder to opera and musical theater, but most importantly, she encouraged me towards early music. When I first had the opportunity to sing with Winter Harp, I was incredibly excited because it's so rare to find groups that perform this kind of repertoire. It's such a gift to be able to bring these beloved carols to life, but also to be able to introduce you to pieces that you may never have heard before. There's something really magical about this experience that I haven't found anywhere else. For me, Winter Harp truly begins when I put on the dress, I take a deep breath, and I walk slowly down the aisle holding my lantern high. I hope that wherever you find yourself this year, that your holidays are filled with warmth and light, and maybe a little bit of magic.
Puddings made with eggs and treacle, seeded raisins are so good. Sift the breadcrumbs, mix the spices, grated rind and much fruit. Nutmeg, cinnamon and ginger pie, strawberry and all sorts. Don't forget the wine and whiskey, Christmas comes but once a year. Pass the goose around the table, now's the time to spread good cheer. Put all cares for tomorrow, Christmas comes but once a year.
we first started, winter harp consisted of 2 harps and a flute. That was it. But slowly we added more instruments, and with that there came a challenge. There wasn't any music anywhere arranged for our rather odd combination of instruments. I mean, where would you go to buy arrangements for harps combined with hurdy-gurdies and nyckelharpas, piccolos, psalteries, recorders, bass flutes, fiddle, percussion, singers? Well, you get the drift. So I had to start arranging and composing, which was new, and I've enjoyed it, and recently Bruce Hensel has helped along, but I'll show you here how complicated things can get. This is a score for just one of our carols. And here we are, verse 1, now we're going through to verse 2, more instruments are coming in, verse 3, moving on to verse 4 with a bit of an interlude with the instruments, and now chorus 1, chorus 2, chorus 3, chorus 4, oh, it just goes on and on and on, and finally, the end.
Hello, I'm Roger Helfrich, the lead male singer for the Winter Harp Ensemble. And I'm wanting to just speak a little bit about the obscure carols that occasionally we perform. It's one of my greatest passions is to discover the unearthed, the rare, the less obvious. Whenever I've done that with folk music generally, I will explore books and various recordings and that to find the most sort of unique things both melodically and lyrically. And it's the same whenever I've approached Christmas carols, especially to bring them to Laurie to have them included into some of the concerts that we've done. So some of the ones that I've brought in are some beautiful German carols. We haven't explored some of the obscure things like Iceland and Norwegian folk carols as yet, but there's definitely been a great number of Spanish carols as well. One of them that we did last year, which was called Laggardly Lasses, and it's actually from Galicia in Spain, the Celtic area of Spain. And I just always want to sort of bring some of these more obscure carols basically out to have people experience them because I think their beauty is deserving of basically more attention. So, thank you very much.
Laggardly lasses up, awake and away, out and gone before cock crow, on the road before day. Merry, meek and gentle Rose of Jericho bore a babe and laid him in a manger low. Tears in his eyes, now sleep, my little one, sleep. Let him dream while he can, now sleep, my innocent sleep. Oh, my precious jewel, great the grief and pain, suffered through the wide world for the love of man. Laggardly lasses up, awake and away, out and gone before cock crow, on the road before day. Merry, meek and gentle Rose of Jericho bore a babe and laid him in a manger low.
nyckelharpa has 16 strings, 4 that you bow, and 12 sympathetic resonating strings. The purpose for those is it gives the nyckelharpa, every time you bow a note, its own unique sound, like a medieval reverb. It has 3 rows of keys. Each key, pressed very gently, changes the pitch of the string, like so.
Hello, this is Roger once again, and I'm just going to show you briefly another of the slightly obscure instruments that we have used with Winter Harp. This one is a plucked psaltery, which is basically a precursor to the hammered dulcimer that you may be more familiar with. This is strung with brass strings. And it's diatonically tuned, so not dissimilar to the type of harps that we are playing, sort of equivalent, for those of you not so musically literate, to say like the white keys of a piano. They were very popular, still around the Middle Ages, 12th, 13th century. And I think they're going to be all the rage in a few years. Maybe not.
Hi, my name is Jeff Pelche, and I play flute, piccolo, alto flute, bass flute, Irish whistle, and hurdy-gurdy for Winter Harp. We're so happy to be with you here this evening. Unfortunately, under these circumstances, we can't be touring this year, but we are still happy to be able to have produced another CD and to be able to spend a little time with you this evening. One of the things that we like to cherish most during the holidays are our various traditions. And a tradition that I especially love while touring is at our intermissions and at the end of the concert, when many of our fans come up to ask us about the amazing instruments we have on stage. One of those, obviously, is the hurdy-gurdy. The hurdy-gurdy is a member of a family of instruments that originally were used as a droning instrument, basically one long note. Obviously the big organistrum that we have that takes 2 people to play, That dates back to the 12th century, and it was used to accompany Gregorian chant. And the hurdy-gurdy is an evolution of that instrument as they became more compact and more agile, where you could actually play notes. You could do quite a bit with them. And this instrument here actually is made by a luthier in Oregon called altar wind music. And the name in French for hurdy-gurdy really tells the story of what's going on. It's called vielle à roue, which means wheeled fiddle. And if you take off this piece here, it exposes a wheel. And on this wheel, you would put rosin, very similar to what's on a violin bow. And as you spin the wheel, I'll do it with no sound. So this would be no sound. And as you add strings, each of these strings has a bit of wound cotton on it. The cotton rubs against the sticky, because of the rosin, wheel, and it causes the string to vibrate. So these top three strings here operate the keyboard chest, which basically, if you open and press these keys, you can see that it lifts each of these small little dowels that will shorten the string and obviously bring the pitch up on the instrument. Then there's these other instrument strings here. So these three strings here will activate drones that accompany. And then the last string that we don't use very often in winter harp because we're not playing quite rhythmic music when we're using this, but it will be coming, is this string here called the chien. And the reason why it's called the chien is that it has what's called a floating bridge. If I were to remove this, you can take the bridge right off. And the floating bridge mechanism creates what's basically kind of like a dog barking sound. So if you hear, this is the straight drone sound, but if you jerk the handle just so much, and when you can do that rhythmically within the piece, you can create a whole rhythmic section that's accompanying the actual music that you're playing. We miss our tradition of seeing everyone on stage this year. We are really looking forward to next year's tour. Well, one of my own family traditions that I'm going to miss this year as well, as many of you may know, I come from Maine in the USA originally, and normally at Christmas, right after our winter harp tour, I'll take some time to travel back home and visit family and friends. And obviously, being a good Mainer, one of our traditions is to have lobster over Christmas. And clearly that won't be happening this year, but whatever you and your family's tradition is, we hope that there's a chance for you to at least, if you can't do the full tradition, at least think back of the fond memories and know that better days are coming, and next year we can celebrate with you live on stage and we can reminisce about what a strange year this year was and celebrate our family traditions. We wish you a Merry Christmas and can't wait to see you next year.
Oh, my dear heart, young Jesus sweet, prepare thy cradle in my street, and I shall rock thee in my heart, and never more fra thee depart, but I shall praise thee evermore with sang sweet unto thy glory. The knees of my heart shall I bow and sing that richt balulalo. and sing that reed.
Someone once said to me that we should have backdrops at our concerts. Backdrops? I said, they're huge. We need a tractor trailer to haul them around. Ah, no, said my friend. They fold up, believe it or not, into the size of a very large bag of dog food. Who knew? Here's how they go up.
Hello, my name is Haley Fahrenholtz, and I play the Celtic harp with Winter Harp. I am the ensemble's newest member. I just started playing with them last year. I started taking harp lessons when I was just 7 years old, and the following December after my lessons began, my grandmother took me to see Winter Harp for the first time. I was immediately mesmerized by the entire experience. I loved the set, the costumes, the instruments, the stories, and most importantly, the music. I was spellbound by the two harpists that were playing, and I thought it was perhaps one of the most wonderful things I had ever heard. I decided then and there, as I was listening, that the one thing I wanted most was to play with Winter Harp someday. So I continued to study harp, and every year when Winter Harp came to Nanaimo, I would play with the children's ensemble in the lobby outside the concert hall, and then I would go in and listen to the concert, which I looked forward to all year. After I graduated high school, I went to study harp at UBC, and then one day, 16 years after I had first heard Winter Harp, I heard that they were looking for a new harpist. So I went to audition, and I was overjoyed when they offered me the position. It was an unreal experience to finally be up on stage with these incredible musicians that I had been watching and admiring for years and years since I was a young girl. My dream from my childhood really did come true. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hope to see you with Winter Harp soon.
Winter Harp arrived in my life about the time I was getting ready to retire from the New Westminster Public Library. It was a wonderful turn of fate that once retired, I could step into another phase of my life, and a marvelous one, Winter Harp. And very soon, I found myself reading to audiences in theatres, churches and cathedrals each December, bringing you the warmth and light of Christmas. When Laurie Papillon and I founded Winter Harp, we wanted to be as rich in stories and poems as it was in music. I had written poetry since I was a child, but here was something different, writing poems and stories to be read to thousands. Laurie and I would brainstorm ideas. Laurie would say, how about writing a story about a wandering harper, or about the ancient solstice fire festivals, or something as simple and beautiful as Christmas at Grandmother's. These were wonderful challenges, and over the years we amassed a significant collection of stories and poems written by both of us. I can't tell you the joy it brought me reading them to you. Your sighs, your tears, your laughter came to us as if through a dream. I remember a night when you all seemed to be breathing together, silently listening, and it was as if I had joined you in the audience and you were with me on stage. It felt as if the moment could last forever. was magic and mystery, and it came for you as much as it came from us. Thank you for all the wonderful memories. I retired in 2007 after being narrator for 14 years, but I've stayed in touch and still keep Winter Harp close to my heart. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Larry Krantz and I'm one of the harpists with Winter Harp, and we really just want to extend to you all today how very much we miss being with you this year. I come from a long line of musicians and I have performed in lots of different styles of music and lots of different kinds of venues, and it is truly an honor for me to be able to say that I'm a member of Winter Harp. Walking on stage with lanterns in hand, I really feel like I'm being transported into just this beautiful, beautiful world of music and readings and emotions. And it's just such a magical show. And the audience is really what makes that. In the show, there are a couple of moments each year where I get teary-eyed. And I remember the first year, I think it was Krista singing In the Bleak Midwinter. And every time she sang it, I had tears in my eyes. And then I had to just get those tears out of my eyes so I could see my strings for the next piece. And I thought, I'm sure the next concert I won't cry. And I cried every single concert in that run. I think the next year it was Roger singing Wexford Carol. Just moved me. I felt the audience and what they felt, and I felt emotional. It's just an absolute joy to be able to share in that. So wherever you are this Christmas, I just wish you the most amazing amounts of joy and love, and can't wait to see you all next year.
Stood hard as
Well, hello and greetings to all of you. This is from Winter Harp. I was just thinking as I sit here on a bright sunny day in December, what Christmas used to be like when I was bringing up my young daughter in Ireland. We lived in a little house, a little stone house, a cottage actually, down a long muddy track in a small place called Plucked, in a suburb called Castlegar, just outside Galway. And it was a lovely place, it was, but cold. There was one great big stone fireplace in the middle of the house that you could, step into. And that was what was used to heat the whole house. So if you didn't have a big fire burning in that central stove, you'd be cold, cold, cold. In fact, our feet were cold the whole time. But it didn't bother us at all. It was just expected. You had to put on extra clothes just to go into the kitchen because, of course, we weren't cooking in this great big stone fireplace anymore, but it was still there. And we would burn peat because that was the cheapest fuel, right? You could get some wood, but mostly in Ireland, they burned all their wood and they're down to peat moss. So there's always the smell of peat moss in the house. It's a very charming smell, a very sooty smell. Things got a little bit blackened. And I remember just outside the window, and the windows were small in order to keep the heat in, just outside the window, every morning at rush hour, a herd of about 50 cows would walk by the window, and literally so close to the window that you could reach out and touch them as they went by. And following these 50 cows that were walking down to the hazelwood at the end of the muddy road would be the farmer, a woman, on a bicycle. And she'd be ringing her bell to get the cows to move a little faster and wobbling along on her bicycle behind and dressed up in layer upon layer upon layer of woolen sweaters and hats and gloves and scarves. And she looked like a sort of rolling laundry hamper going down the muddy road after her herd of cows. And I remember one Christmas morning as she passed by, I stopped out to say hello because Christmas is a very quiet time in Ireland and everyone stays in with their family. But I just dropped outside to say hello and Merry Christmas to this woman as she rode by on her bicycle outside, chasing her cows down to the hazelwood. And I remember being totally surprised when I talked to her. She started quoting poetry to me and started telling me about all the children she had and all the different places in the world they lived and the places she'd travelled to. And we get this impression sometimes from Ireland that it's a sort of backward place that's living in another century. But my goodness, the people are literate and literary. And the number of poems she knew by heart was astonishing. And I remember on a Christmas morning standing there on the muddy road, listening to this woman who's dressed up like a laundry hamper as the cows gradually slowed down on the muddy road ahead, waiting for the bicycle to chase them, repeating by heart poems, Irish poems, English poems, 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 poems. What a lovely literate country. So imagine my delight when living in Canada I came across Laurie Papajan, who handed me a wad of poems and said, "Here, read this," to which I replied, "Try and stop me." And I haven't stopped yet.
Hello, Winter Harp fans. I'm Bruce Hensel. In 2009, I had the wonderful opportunity to join Winter Harp as a substitute when Laurie Lister went on mat leave. And a few years ago, I was asked to be a permanent member of Winter Harp as a string player and sometime percussionist. I'm so happy to play for you guys every year. I'm sorry that we can't this year, but we love hearing your comments after our shows and hearing what thrilled you and moved you. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas season, and please enjoy Winter Harp when we can get back again.
Merry Christmas from my new home here in Victoria to you out there. I can't believe we're not performing for you this year. I haven't missed a Winter Harp Christmas for over 20 years, except for once when my daughter was born and once when I was in Australia. So these are crazy times. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. Stay safe, stay well, and here's my udu, my clay pot drum, because I am the drummer girl, saying over and out, Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
We love getting comments from you about our shows. Here are a few of our favourites. One woman wrote, "I have been to Christmas concerts all over Europe. None are as profound as yours." Another person wrote, "Your concert was like living for 2 hours inside the most beautiful Christmas card." And another, "The velvet medieval gowns, the golden instruments, it was like being in King Arthur's court or in an ancient ethereal dream." And a man sent us this, "You have touched thousands and thousands of lives, all who are better for the gift of music and story. You have created something that is, I think, a moment of coming home. You have created not just a great concert, but a place in which people can arrive and say, "Ah, Christmas is here."
In closing, all of us at Winter Harp would like to thank you for being with us every step of the way over these many years. And now, in these trying times, we needed to be with you, which is why we made this video. We wanted to reach out, stay in touch, let you know that if we could, Winter Harp would be before you on stage as it always has. More than anything, we wanted to lift you up and fill you with Winter Harp's magic and mystery. Each day is a gift. Peace, joy, and love. May these be with you throughout the whole new year. And from all of us at Winter Harp, Merry Christmas.
Sing the first verse again, and we would love it if you would all sing along with us. From all of us at Winter Harp, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas.